Welcome to the Digital Exchange. I'm your host, Robert Brown. On today's episode, we will be joined by Alex Belkofer, Senior VDC Director from McCarthy. Enjoy the conversation. This is going to be a good one. This is my boy. Let's go. Well, I got to say, I am proud to say that this show here is brought by a friend of mine who's actually on the call, Alex Belkofer, who's the Senior VDC Director from McCarthy. But y'all, please be mindful that I really don't like him, even though he's the first one on the show. Alex, this is something me and you've talked about a few times about, we travel around this industry and we hear all of these conferences, but nobody is keeping it real. Nobody's telling the true story.
Yeah.
And so I kept hearing this, and I'm like, man, we can do something about this. We can start having some healthy, critical conversations about this industry and start letting people see the real, what's out there and how we go about this. I do want to give you a chance to briefly tell about yourself.
No, it's great to be on the show here with you, Robert. My name is Alex Belkofer. Work for McCarthy Building Companies. My role as Senior VDC Director is to help guide our strategy and our vision for digital transformation through virtual design and construction tools and techniques. I've been in the industry for about 18 years, going on 19 now. Spent my life really on the construction side of the business, but I do have an educational background in both architecture and construction management. I worked for two other companies prior to coming to McCarthy, and I think this is a great place to be as an employee owner. We're a 100% employee-owned company, and a lot of what I do in my day-to-day is giving back to the industry, both inside and outside of McCarthy, and I spend a lot of time with a number of organizations, Robert, that you're starting to get involved with now. It's always a pleasure to be in spaces with you and talking about keeping it real and trying to propel this industry ever forward.
Thank you. And it's funny. A lot of people see guys like me and you talk, and they don't realize we actually came from the field. We actually come from the ground.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, and knowing you at a good sized company of McCarthy and leading the VDC space, what you think was your pivotal moment that made you realize technology could fundamentally change how we build, how we do things?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll go back to my first company that I worked for coming out of school. When I graduated, I was looking for work and it was in the recession. And I was lucky enough to get a job coming out of school. There were a number of my classmates that were searching for work and trying to find their first opportunity. But I had the benefit of being connected to a company that was a sponsor of a student construction competition that I was in back at Ohio State, my alma mater. And so I had an in with a person that was on our construction management advisory board and got that opportunity. So I started my career like many people, boots on the ground, a project engineer, in the field, learning the tools of the trade, how to manage construction. And it was midway through that experience as I was going through the ranks of project engineer, superintendent, project manager, and even became an owner's rep early on in my career. I was involved in a project up in Cleveland, Ohio at John Carroll University. And I was the owner's rep on that job, working with a pretty large GC up in the Cleveland market. And we were doing 3D coordination. And it was one of the first times that I'd ever seen a general contractor using 3D coordination with the design team, the owner, the trade partners, and doing things like clash detection and model reviews. But it was in that setting as an owner's rep that I really kind of recognized that there was a career that needed to be built around and guide this whole idea of leveraging technology to better plan, manage, and build work. And it was in some of those coordination meetings where I saw a lot of the struggles with aligning the design to construction means and methods, aligning the 3D models the designer was making to something that was actually constructible, and then seeing all the issues that came out of that, issues that took time and money to solve, issues that translated to rework in the field, and seeing it as an opportunity to fix those things in the model digitally before it ever became a thing physically was just like this aha moment that I had that like this could be something that I could sink my teeth into, take all the knowledge that I had gathered from the field, but focus it in more of a digital way in a digital role. And that's really kind of what led me to where I am today.
I look back on that moment of where this industry was in the 2016, and guys like yourself who's actually been in this space longer than me already have known about the 3D and clash detection, thing like that. I didn't. But I tell you, where I am today, I think I'm like that because of guys like you who are willing to have these conversations we're having today. We're willing to talk about issues on our contract, and we're able to draw conclusions that are feasible and that pushes the envelope for both of us. You said we're on some organizations together, and we talk about various technologies and things like that, but not naming a technology per se. What do you think? How do you make a business case from what we've just mentioned for tech adoption for contractors whose main concern is I want to get paid fast and I want to try to avoid change orders? That's an easy question to ask you. That's not easy to answer because let's be real. Like we said when we started this, we are in this to make money. I
Right.
get tired of people saying, "Oh man, it ain't about that." Stop. What kind of things do you do to build business cases to help contractors such as yourself adopt tech?
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky in the sense that the three companies that I've worked for professionally were very customer oriented, very client facing, client focused. And a big part of our business model was repeat work. So, in order to apply technology to that business model, we looked at the ways that technology could help us win repeat work. Well, how do you do that? Well, for us, it's making sure that the owner understands that our technology approach is going to help mitigate risk. It's going to drive more predictable outcomes and it's going to reduce the pain and suffering in the field of rework and change orders, right? So, those things being in focus, a big part of our technology approach was, well, how do we deliver our services better, whether it's our pre-construction services, our construction operations services, or even downstream, how do we maintain and support our build assets after we hand over the keys and shake the hands with the client and then make sure that we're there for whatever their needs are after the asset has been put in place and is operating. So from my lens, both as a construction manager and now as a virtual construction manager, it's always kind of been targeted on that. And so no matter what we applied the technology to with our workflows, with our functional teams, with our strategies to deliver really amazing construction services, it's always been built around kind of those guiding principles, if you will. So whether you're a company that's an employee owned company or not, or whether you're a company that is like really laser focused on the client experience and client focus or not, that's the approach that we've taken. So you probably need to ask yourself, well, what are your guiding principles for your firm? And if the end result is to make money, you have to start to recognize you're going to have to spend a little bit up front to get a lot on the back end.
Yeah.
And so the investment in technology, the investment in training your people to work in different ways, the investment of people's time, your subject matter experts in retraining or guiding the team in new ways of working. Yes, you're going to have to spend a little bit there, but there's a huge return on the back end if you're delivering your services in a more efficient manner, if you're delivering them faster. I mean, you're also being able to show the client, like, hey, we're doing these things and we're blocking and tackling these things and it's protecting you. And you're not going to have to pay for these things 2 times and 3 times fold over because we're going to cover it up front. And while, yes, there's a cost for some of those services, you're not going to pay more because we're doing these things and you're hiring a contractor of choice rather than a contractor of price.
I'm on the owner's side, so the vast amount of contractors we get, sometimes it kind of they hit you with so much, and I'm sometimes just like, do you guys know that you're talking to a progressive owner, somebody that's into tech? You know what I mean? I get that you want to make money, but guess what? I'm actually here to protect the owner. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
those are the type of things that, as you said, hey, if I'm here to make money, we're gonna have to do some things that agree that we can make money, plus the owner can get a good product of what we built. So with
Yep.
that said, owners, they sign the checks, right? They the ones who pay you, but some may not view technology as something I want. Others are saying it's a nice to have rather than a requirement. So, as a contractor, as a GC, as a tech guru from the Ohio State University, you knew I was gonna get you some part of here.
Right.
You knew that wasn't going away.
I know.
But we sat at a table, at a round table last May 2025, and me and you heard some things in that. And I remember saying, and please don't take this bad, folks, but I remember saying there's a lot of people at this round table I would never give a contract to. Can you tell me what are some of the most effective ways you've seen from the general contractor side to convince owners, somebody like myself, to want to get into digital delivery, want to get into technology, get into things that make our asset handover process better? What are some of the things that you've seen that's been effective?
Well, I'll quickly go back to tee this up to something that I learned early in my career. So, if any of you know Chuck Meese, who works for Autodesk, a great pioneer in our industry, my second year in construction, I went to a conference where Chuck spoke, and he talked about the three key questions that every owner should ask themselves, which is what data do you want, who is going to use that data, and how should that data be received and maintained? And that has stuck with me over the years because those three key questions, they're not just for building owners or asset owners. Those three key questions are really for any owner of anything. And as I've applied that to a lot of the work that I've done in my career, that owner profile may change, that stakeholder may change, but those questions are still extremely relevant. We're in the business of information exchange, if you think about it. We're not just building assets, we're exchanging information and we're giving each other information that hopefully can be leveraged long term. So for me, if an asset owner needs to care about maintaining an asset, there's information associated with making sure that you can maintain that asset really effectively. And as a general contractor, design builder, construction manager, we have access to a lot of information. We manage a ton of information in a project's life cycle. Why would you not want that? So the question then becomes, well, what information is valuable in what I, as a general contractor, design builder, construction manager, can provide you? And then it's going to be, well, what's the right format for it? What are the different ways that I could use it? And then it requires really working together at the beginning to define how we're going to go and execute all of that. And so to me, the key for an owner is, well, you've got to start to set some requirements and some expectations up front. Otherwise, you're never going to know what you're going to be able to get at the end of the day. So whether you're an owner that has robust building information modeling or asset data standards or whatever standards you may have, many owners have design standards, but are they tailored in a way to get you the information that you want in the right
Great.
format? And are you able to get that information easily into whatever systems that are governing your build asset? So to me, if you're an owner that doesn't care about data, maybe this conversation is not for you. But I gotta believe many owners care about data and information. The question becomes, well, what's the format and how could I have it best delivered to me? And my responsibility and what I do is to help owners answer those three key questions and make sure that I can get that information in the best way possible.
Man, you said data. I don't think people understand how much data are in projects and previous projects and things like that. And I always say, if you haven't been gut punched, then you're not messing with data because you're going to get gut punched. I know some owners who, and there's certain technology words that I mean, I stay away from. But there's some people who are diving into some technologies that are available today, digital twins, all of these type of technologies, and haven't ever met with the CMMS. They haven't met with the various owners, you know what I mean? And they're like, I want this project and I want this, and that. How? What problem are you trying to solve?
I have a quick story for you, if you
Yeah.
don't mind.
No, go ahead. This is your
So one
show,
of the
brother.
so I love telling stories. I think it's a very relevant thing. Robert, I think you and I first came together and we were sharing stories. I think that's why we're friends now. And so let's share a couple with the audience here. So like one of the first opportunities that I had to work on a Kobe project, right? Construction operation building information exchange, where Kobe was the standard. And if you know Chuck Meese, we have this debate all the time of is Kobe a standard versus is Kobe a schema. We'll get into that later. But on my very first Kobe job, it was the owner or an owner's rep that just said, "Here, go fill out this spreadsheet. I want all this asset information from the project in this sheet. No questions asked. Just give this to me."
A full Kobe sheet?
Yeah, that's right.
Woo!
The first lesson that I had to learn the hard way is I said, "Yes, sir. I'm going to go collect this information." I collected it. And lo and behold, at the end of the day, that wasn't the only set of information that they wanted. I didn't know about or didn't ask the three key questions. And I didn't know that we should have had some type of kickoff meeting and talk with the stakeholders
Yeah.
about, is this really everything? Is this the right format? Who is going to use it? And so I went and did the thing. I collected the data, and then they came back and said, well, we actually need more, or, well, this person wasn't in the conversation and they want to see it done in a different way. So I took some lumps through that process. And inevitably, what I realized is, and no shame or no knock on what Kobe has helped us to become. It wasn't so much about Kobe and that data standard framework. It was more about, what assets do I really care about? Do I really need this entire listing of those assets? And do I really need all these parameters associated with it? Or do I need to pare it down to like maybe a third of that? And do I really need maybe a third of those parameters? So I took a lot of those early lumps, just collecting information as I was being told to do. And I became much more in tune and aware with the need to have that collaborative stakeholder conversation with not just the facility asset data person, but the project manager and people in IT and people in real estate and people in all the other business groups in that owner's personnel profile, so that I was really making sure that I was going to collect this information the right way, one time, and satisfy all the needs, as opposed to just solving the needs for one stakeholder group in that business group.
When I first came into this space, one of the very first meetings we had with our CMMS team and our operation and maintenance team, because when I realized that they're the ones who is going to get the asset, they're the ones who's going to absorb that 75-80% of that life cycle of that. I was like, it's not about all these standards and things on this side. What is it that you want? What is it in your system that you guys look at? And so when we got that and we started our first iteration of our standards, then we were able to, as part of our kit of parts where we give in those kickoff meetings, we give these and say, hey, as far as what we're wanting in the model and for the asset, for the data, this is what we're wanting. Nothing more than that. Just give us this little bit. And guess what? We are fine. And our operation and maintenance team was like, perfect. So I get people's Kobe and all of these jargonous words we use around here, but are you really doing Kobe? Are we really doing all these things that people are out here talking about? And I personally, most of the people that I talk to, and on the owner side, we have these peer exchanges with like all the aviation airports, the tech stops do them, and they even have some for the retail space. But you have all these owners are talking, and guess what? If you go in there and you talk to them, have any of y'all talked to your contractor about what exactly you want? You can have 100 in there. I'm not gonna say the percentage because I don't, because you already know it's pretty high who don't do that, but they want to gripe about not having something. What are you seeing now that has changed over the last 5 years as you're dealing with the owners? And also, I can ask this again a little bit later, but are they more demanding? Are they, a lot of them still trying to play catch up?
Yeah. Well, in my world and the type of work that McCarthy does, we work with a lot of different client types and markets and profiles. And so, it's hospitals one day, it's data centers another day, it's aviation another day. And clients are becoming more sophisticated. Like, I am seeing that trend. I mean, clients are becoming savvy. They recognize they can have access to better information if they write their RFPs and their and their qualifications better. And so that is starting to progress. I mean, I'm getting RFPs where I'm finally seeing information in there around, what is your approach to BIM and VDC? What is your approach to facility asset data and digital twins? Like that is starting to show up more, which is really good. I think the struggle though is owners being able to leverage national standards for technology deliverables and contracting methods that are friendly to that. Now, these things exist. There are national standards. We have NBIMS, the National Building Information Management
Yep.
Standard. We have, forward facing documents now that have BIM language in them from AIA, and Consensus Docs has some of that as well. But I still don't see people taking the steps to using them and really moving the needle with more projects so that people have the reps in knowing how to use them, accepting of the risk associated with them, and really attacking projects more in a partnering format rather than, I'm just going to do my part of it and you're just going to do yours and we'll meet in the middle where we have to. And so I really do believe that for us to get better with the adoption of technology, we need to come at projects much more collaboratively. So things like IPD, things like shared risk, shared savings, methods that really force a relationship that becomes collaborative in nature between our designers of record, our contractors and trade partners, our owners and our owners' reps, and even in some cases, suppliers, manufacturers, and vendors downstream. But until we start to see more of those, and we're still doing design bid build, and we're still doing traditional CM at risk or CM agency, there's still like this limited palatability of acceptance to get in bed together and leverage technology and share that risk and really drive this digital collaboration that we really need to, I think, get to as a new plateau in the industry. Otherwise, we're still seeing amazing tools and technologies out there, but we're only adopting them for our own means and methods, our own needs. We're
Agreed.
not getting in bed and using them together to drive better insights, better blocking and tackling of our risk, better transitioning of design related information to what I would call construction ready or construction
Yeah.
grade information, which then leads to things like digital twin and packaging of a digital asset for downstream handover and use. So no matter what you can write in a front end or an RFP, I still think that we've got to get to a better contracting methodologies in industry and a better level of shared risk and shared acceptance of coming together and delivering projects as a unified group rather than hiring the architect separately, hiring the engineer separately, hiring the construction manager separately. And then the owner has all these different entities they have to interface with, but there's no incentive to really work together.
I know we're on our fifth iteration because each project we have a lessons learned. And guess what? There's things that I thought, hey man, we're right there. Dude, no. There's we got hit by something else. I need to go change that and see about making that next project work better. So I hear some folks say, well, man, we still got our same old standard. I just don't understand. And not just that standard, but you got to go across the board. If people still using design criteria, if you're your division one spec, dude, you got to go a whole list and change all of it because all of that is a part and your contracts, all of that has to be changed. So I'm glad you brought that up. I also think we need to have some discussions about how does BIM apply to the different, like say, design bid build versus design build. Because when you go design bid build and you got these milestones you hand it over, like I say, that's some conversations that man we we need to have on how these people need to be able to adjust and adapt to the various things that are coming at them with all of this technology. So kind of a spin off of that and kind of digging pushing us a little bit forward. What makes you not afraid to push the envelope? What helps you overcome resistance from some of your people? And I don't want you to just say the office staff because field staff have
Yeah.
things that I don't want to do that. So, what type
Yeah.
of things in a company you guys size have you saw this somewhat resistant?
Yeah. Well, in a role like mine, where you're a construction technologist, if you will, that's another way to coin it, and have come from the field. A big part of what I try to do is to leverage my ability to build very deep relationships. And deep relationships is a term that resonates in McCarthy because one of our regional presidents, Bobby Campbell, had used this phrase, deep relationships, a number of years ago. And when you unpack that, what it really means is really getting to know your partners, not at the surface level, but really getting to know what they really truly care about, what makes them tick. And for me, it's always been going to the point of attack, being with the boots on the ground at the job site, the people that feel the most pain, but can get the most value out of what we can provide, and hearing from them very directly, what do they lose sleep over at night? What are the biggest pain points on the job that really causes stressors or degrades morale? And the more that you spend time with them and walk the job, actually walk the floors, walk the terrain of our building projects, the more you understand really what it means to be in their shoes day to day. And the more that you can correlate how helping them in the field will pay it forward to all the work that happens in pre construction in the office, to then realize, well, how can I then fix things up front to relieve that
Yep.
pain downstream? So you almost have to kind of do a backwards pass or a pull plan, if you will, if you're thinking about things like that. And you've got to start at one place to then work backwards to then know how you can pull back forward. So I've been really mindful of, in my role and with my team and all of our VDC partners in McCarthy, get to the point of attack. And the point
Yeah.
of attack might be level 4 of a hospital tower that's midway through construction. It might be down the hall with an estimator who's working on a hard bid. It might be working cross regionally with another partner in a different office. So you have to get in the car or hop on a plane and go hear and see what they're doing because you've heard amazing tales of what they're doing and you're not there yet. So whatever that point of attack is, you've got to go seek that out, listen more than talk, take good notes, and come back with the value points that that person or that role profile, that persona is giving you, and really think intentionally about how you can make some gains in what you're doing every day to really deliver on those value points that that person or that persona profile could get value out of.
Which brings me to Alex, what type of workflows or tools have you seen that kind of improve collaborations between, say, yourself and owners? And mind you, we know we got Autodesk, Procore, we got all of these names out here.
Yeah. Well, with the myriad of tools that are out there and the noise that's kind of created in the industry in recent years, what we're trying to do is adopt less tools and just find more integrated, capable tools of bringing multiple mediums together, right? Bridging gaps. So I'll kind of use the phrase bridging gaps to kind of, start
Yeah.
this off. To me, the best tools, the best workflows that have really transformed things up for us are the ones that are bringing together the multiple mediums. So the 2D information, right? Our plans, specifications, the model, so the 3D environment, and then allowing the ability for multidiscipline collaborative teams that are at job sites in multiple places around the country do all that work, that collaboration in one tool, as opposed to like 3 different tools, and then allowing them to be able to communicate in that tool. So, like you mentioned, like Autodesk and Procore, right? Those are platform tools. Revisto is another, I would
Yeah.
call it a pseudo platform tool because it's starting to kind of evolve in that direction. But that's one of the best tools, though, Robert, that I have found in my career that has successfully bridged those gaps and found ways to bring stakeholders into one unified environment to look at things in the ways that they've always looked at them, right? You've got the 2D flatlanders of our industry. You've got the
Yeah.
3D people, right? The very tech savvy, very highly visual people. And then you've got the people that just want the list of issues. And so the tools and workflows that make the most sense and drive the most value for us are the ones that straddle the line and bring all those things together. Because there's one thing that's very real right now in our industry, and that's tool fatigue. Our people
Yes.
have 19
Yes.
different tools and multiple logins and how to get to things. And some things are single sign on and some things are not. And so, just to make life and work easier for them every single day, to bring them into less tools, but more highly collaborative, highly effective, and then highly versatile tools, like that's the name of the game for us. And so, no matter what we're trying to do, whether it's 3D coordination or 4D scheduling or issue tracking, quantity tracking, progress tracking, whatever, the more you can do it in a lesser tool set that's still very robust, the better.
I can't go against nothing you said because most people that I talked to, when I asked them about their tech stack, they were like, man, we had all of this and we didn't even know we had that. I'm like, you're paying money and not even using that stuff. And if we were to roadmap what you're doing, you have no rhyme or reason for your tech stack or none of those parts.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that, man, when you said tool fatigue, it exists.
For us, we've got a lot of tools in our toolkit. Don't get me wrong. I'm not
Yeah,
trying to convince anybody that McCarthy has like 5 tools to do everything that we do.
yeah,
And we have a lot, but we're also a large organization and we need a lot of tools. But what's critical for the tools that we're using is that we've got subject matter expert groups that are guiding the use of these tools, and they're making documentation on how to use them, right? So
Hmm.
standards, guidelines, process flow maps, so that the business understands how to use these tools in the best ways. And if we need to pivot and maybe look at different tools, or look at roadmaps and determine really what's the longevity of using some of these things, we've got those SME groups that are coming together looking at those things on a regular basis, because we're in this very focused mode right now at McCarthy on unifying and simplifying and amplifying a lot of what we're doing. In order to do that with a large organization like ours, we've got to have people that are close to that work, that are cross functioning and working with other stakeholder groups in our business, between our pre construction teams, our field operations teams, to make sure that we're future proofing ourselves in a way so that we don't get down a path where tools become out of date and obsolete, and there's better things out there in the marketplace. And we're also in a good position to be able to make, intelligent long range decisions, or in some cases, short term decisions on things that are really driving value for us that maybe has changed over the course of time. So it's critical we've got those SME groups that are working together on our tools and our processes.
Well, man, I gotta say, one of the best things that I can truly say, and I mean this, I know I always give you a hard time, but man, conversations with you are always amazing. That's probably why we have so many. We actually talk about things that are real. And you notice I didn't bring up AI today.
Not yet.
No, I didn't bring up AI because yeah, if we start going forward facing and where we are technology wise, a lot of varying opinions on AI. So I said, you know what, I won't really bring that up because that's to me a show in itself. Since we two old heads, I would like to ask you, we got a lot of kids that are in schools and trying to find out what this industry is going to present to them because education is education, but when you get in the real world, things are a little bit different when you start having millions and billions of dollars that are being spent. So, what advice would you give some of these young BDC managers or some of these young BDC professionals who are coming into this space in 2026?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that, because I had this thought the other day. It's been something that I've carried with me for a long time. And so I'll give you kind of two quotes. One of the early lessons that I learned from one of my mentors at my first company was a statement that he made to me one time. And he said, Alex, there's a difference between making a $10,000 mistake and a $100,000 mistake. A $10,000 mistake, you can recover from. You can't always recover from a $100,000 mistake. And specifically, what he was talking about was making decisions and standing behind them, accepting the level of risk associated with making a call and knowing that that call may go one way or another. And as a young project manager, I always carried that weight with me as I was trying to make decisions on my own versus when to go to my senior manager or someone more senior level for consultation before I made a call. And then that leads me to where I am today, which is digital risk is actually no different than physical risk. As a young VDC manager, you're managing digital risk every single day. And the calls and the decisions that you make in the computer could really go one way or another if you make the wrong call at the field level. And so carrying that same weight of that $10,000 versus $100,000 mistake when I was a project manager into my role as a digital manager, if you will, now, I try to make sure people understand that. Because if we're saying the computer is accurate and we're saying that we can accurately plan, coordinate, manage, and build from these digital artifacts, what do you think is going to happen in the field if people are trusting those things? They're going to implicitly rely upon them no differently than a 2D construction document. And so if you're going to say the model is the Bible, which one of my superintendents years ago had said that, and I loved it and I carried that with me, then the whole thing has got to be accurate, or you've got to know, well, what is it good for and what is it not good for? And that digital risk associated with my role as a VDC manager is going to carry forward to the superintendent, the project manager, and people downstream. And so the correlation between the two is very important and very real.
Man, I tell you, I remember I was a senior survey tech, and we were doing the Skylink station, going from our old train station to the new train station, where they had this one X station that was supposed to be the 0 + 0 0 was supposed to be where everything started. So
Yep.
we needed a solid X, Y, and Z. I got the digital level loop, man. It was at night because that's the only time you can shut down that train, right?
Yep.
The track. So, dude, it's 1, 2 in the morning. We running the digital level loop, man. I'm like, man, this is gonna be accurate. Woo! Guess what though? I hit the wrong X.
No.
Hit the wrong X. $1 million mistake.
Ooh.
But guess what? I said my boss at the time said, I can give you one. You don't get two. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I tell the young folks that come under me, and I'm like, don't be afraid don't have fear of failure. Don't be afraid to come and tell me. Because if you don't come tell me and it goes out, then that's the problem. As long as it's within here, I have no problem going to say, hey man, I need an extra day.
Right.
I need to verify that because guess what? I can give you one, but I can't give you two.
That's right. And speaking of verify, another thing that I tell young VDC managers is that you need to document.
Yes.
Documenting things in our role is no different than a project manager who needs to document meeting minutes, correspondence, cost. It's the same thing. You might be documenting different things, but you're documenting, model updates, you're documenting sign-offs, you're documenting, who transmitted what when. It really is no different. But if you don't document that, and you get put into a claim or you get put into a situation where someone's going to ask you, well, what was the tail of the tape and how did we get here? And you don't have the right information as a digital manager, then that's going to be that $100,000 mistake that you don't want to make.
This is not to scare anybody, but it's to inform you that we're telling you real world situations here. I've made mistakes. I'm first person to say it. Alex will tell you he made mistakes.
Yeah.
But guess what? We own it. That's why we are where we are today. And we're able to sit here and have conversations and able to tell you guys our experiences so that you can be better than us. That's the
Right.
whole part of this. It's not about circling up. I'm gonna hold this information over here. I'm gonna steal something from Alex today that he said. I had never said tool fatigue, but I said wrote it down. Got you, brother.
That's right. Well, and you look at information sharing, right? It's really about building up a sense of community and
Yep.
sharing of all that tacit knowledge, right? You say stealing, I say it's going to be mutually beneficial because it's going
Yep.
to push everybody to be better. And there's not a lot of trade secrets out there necessarily with a
No.
lot of the stories that we tell, but the lessons learned and the tacit knowledge sharing really allows people to do what we do better and elevate the purpose of what we do. People that are in a construction technology role, no matter what firm you're in or what stakeholder group you represent in the AECO spectrum, if we're all trying to head towards the North Star of being this digitally collaborative ecosystem of practitioners, we've got to share more and we've got to be able to understand where each other are at and where each other wants to go. Otherwise, we're never going to be able to adopt digital standards. The more
Yep.
that we talk about what is accepting and what is not, or what our reservations might be, and what our value propositions are, the more that we can really start to think about doing work better together. But until we openly share those things and talk the talk and talk the real in conversations like this and in others at roundtables, then we're not fully, I think, going to reach our potential and our full maturity that we have the potential to do.
Well, I will say this. I know me and you, this is way, way far from our end of our conversation we always have. Man, I can't thank you enough for today. I know you probably shocked when we emailed you because you was like, I know you were like, this dude actually went ahead and did this show.
Yep. And we're here. And
Yeah,
we're here.
I even put on my glasses today, and man, I wanted to actually look smart for once in my life. But Alex, hey man, my brother, thank you, man. I can't thank you enough for coming on here. We got other different ideas, so I'm sure we're gonna circle back. You're already gonna get me in trouble with it's a couple people. It's either Mark from Arkansas or it's gonna be Jacob. One of them gonna say something because you are first guest. So somebody's gonna say something, but I had to give him a big dog on this one, man, because You're in that space on the contractor space. I'm in that owner space. And at some point in time, we have to get this together to where we're working with the same idea. I know we paying, I know you're building, but we have to be one in accord to make this successful. With that said, you got any final comments, Al?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, brother. This has been a great opportunity to kick things off here with you. I think we have to have more of these real conversations. So I think this podcast kind of taking that approach of let's talk the talk and shoot people the real truth, and getting the information out there that is going to help everybody in our community grow and develop, and push this industry to where it really can go. I think that's what's important. That's what's critical for us to do. So I would just say thank you once again. I appreciate all your collaboration, the industry stuff that you and I are working on. Maybe we can pull on some of those threads in a future episode.
Yep.
And then, of course, I have to leave you with an obligatory "Go Buckeyes." So there you go.
Yeah, y'all won. I can't even say nothing, man. So, hey, everybody, thank you guys very much. AB, we'll talk soon, my brother.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you guys for joining me on the Digital Exchange. Until next time, keep building smart. Thank you guys.